G'day and welcome to another video. In today's lesson we will learn how to make this really awesome wig. This design is by poshpoochdesigns.com and I will leave the link to her website so you can go and print off your own pattern. The yarn that we're using in this video is from redheart.com. Redheart.com is a great place for inspiration for your next project. Check out their links located in my description box. And let's get started on the lesson. I would like to say a huge thank you to Posh Pooch Designs for allowing me to use their written pattern. I think this is really adorable. For our supplies we will need 3.5 ounces or 100 grams of yarn. It suggests a worsted weight yarn. I will be using Red Heart Super Saver. I've got two colours. It doesn't say to use two colours in the pattern, but the photos in the pattern have streaks in the hair which looks really cool. So I'm going to just use some scrap blue that I have. This is Shocking Pink and I'm pretty sure that is Royal Blue. They're both Super Saver. You're going to need a crochet hook to go with your yarn. It's really cloudy outside today and damp, so it's really bad lighting. We've got a 5.5mm crochet hook. This is also an eye size hook that is suggested in the pattern. We're going to need a pair of scissors and a large eye needle, yarn needle. And forgive me if my sleeves get in this video tutorial because it is really cold here today. I do have a heater but I have to turn it off when I film because it's really noisy. So look, look at that. It almost matches my yarn. So I'm going to pull them up a little bit because they do annoy me when they're on the camera. Like I said, forgive me if they get in the way. So also we're going to need our free written pattern, and I've just printed this out in black and white because my printers run out of colour. But these hats are awesome. You have to go and check it out on the website. So go to the website to print off your pattern. This is also a great beginner if you don't know how to read a written pattern. This is a great video and a great pattern to follow along with to learn how to read a pattern. So you can also add it to your Ravelry queues, so make sure you do that if you're on Ravelry. Go and add it to your favourites and add it to patterns that you want to make. We've got all the suggested materials that we need there, and we're going to use a chain, a slip stitch, a single crochet, half double crochet and into the back loops only. So it's rated as an easy pattern. And we've got a gauge there. 4 single crochet rows equals 1 inch and 4 single crochets across equals 1 inch as well. So the pattern is size for children and it's a 16 to 17 inch hat, and an adult is 19 to 20 inch. I'm going to be making the child size today, but it will have the amount of stitches and chains that you need for the adult as well. So if you don't want to make the child size, I suggest that you print out the adult so that you know what you're following along with. Take my paper clip off the top. I'm just going to flip it over so that we've got the written pattern that we've got there. So on here it says chain 36. The first number is always for the child size because that is the smaller size. You can see there it's got 2 numbers. That is the child size where the 30 is, and again 30 and 30. But if you're going to make the adult size, you are going to follow the size that is in the brackets. So the 40 there, there and there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this pattern aside. So this pattern is worked side to side. It's not worked in the round like a normal hat, and that's how we get the beautiful rib look on this pattern. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with a slip knot. You can work that any way that you want to. And what we need to do is chain 36. If you are making the adult size, you will chain 46. So I'm not going to film myself doing that, so I will be back in just a moment. I'm back. I have 36 chains, and if you're making the adult, you will have 46 chains. And it says if you would like your wig to be longer, add more chains, and if you want it to be shorter, you make less chains. So row 1, it says slip stitch into the second chain from the hook and into the next 4 chains. So let's zoom in just a little bit. And we are going to slip stitch into the second chain. We don't count the one that's on our crochet hook. This is the first and that is the second. Going into there, we're going to slip stitch. Just going to make that loop a little bit smaller. So we slip stitch into the first stitch and into the next 4 chains. It is a little bit fiddly because it's not much to hold on to. So we've got 1, 2, 3. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 altogether. And then it says single crochet into the next 30 stitches. If you're making the adult size, it will be the next 40 stitches. And basically that will be until you get to the end of your chain. So going into the chain stitch and working a single crochet. I'm going to do this all the way across until we get to the end. So once we get to the end, we're up to row 2, and if it starts to twist around, don't worry, that's perfectly normal. It will do that on your first row or 2. So row 2, working into the back loops only, single crochet in the next 30 stitches or the next 40 if you're doing an adult size. So we want to chain 1, and the chain 1 does not count as a stitch throughout this pattern. So into the first stitch we're going to work single crochet, and we're going to work, we want to go into the back loop only. So back loop only is when we look at the top of our work, we have 2 loops. This is the front one and that is the back one. So putting your crochet hook through the back loop, we're going to work a single crochet, back loop, and this gives it an awesome ribbed look. So going back loops all the way across, and we're going to do this into just the single crochets that we've got, and when we get to the slip stitches, which are here, we're going to slip stitch into there. So we only want a single crochet up to our single crochets. Once we get to the ends, we will have 5 slip stitches left, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and into there, into the back loop of the slip stitch, we're going to work a slip stitch. So you should only be going through 1 loop, getting that last one. So that, oops, that will be 5. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's a single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then so we're up to row 3, and it says the 5 slip stitches in the is the top of the hat, and this is where we're going to gather it close when we finish. So this bit here is the top of your hat, which is the top of your head. So row 3, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and spit it out. The row 3 says 5 slip stitches, so we're going to slip stitch again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you can see, this is a little bit tricky. 5. and then it says to work in the back loops only 1 single crochet in the next 30 stitches, and if you're making the adult size it will be the next 40 stitches. So again, turning your work towards you. I'm sorry my lighting is so bad today. It's really miserable outside. That might help. There we go, that's better. There's no shadow. So single crochet into the back loops only, and we're going to work all the way across. And I will meet you at the end. Once we get to the end, you make sure you've got the right amount of stitches. So we're now doing row 4, and it says rows 4 to 24, or if you're doing it adult size, it's row 4 to 28. Repeat row 2 and 3, alternating, sounding like a robot, alternating the rows. So you're going to have 30 or 40 single crochets and 5 slip stitches on the end. So chain 1, and again we're going to single crochet all the way across. When we get to our slip stitch, we do our slip stitch, and then we go back the other way. Through our slip stitches we do slip stitches, and we single crochet in the single crochets. And don't forget to work it into the back loops. And I will catch up with you when we have 24 rows, or 28 depending on what size you're doing, and we'll show you the next step. And the next step is the bangs, and I learnt this word recently, because if you were in Australia and said your bangs, you really wouldn't know what you're talking about. So for us Aussies, it's your fringe. So this bit is the hair, and then yeah, after those few rows we're going to do the fringe. Once you have your 24 or 28 rows complete, it is time to start the bangs or the fringe, whatever you may call it. And so if you've done the child size, which is this size, it's 24 rows, but if you've done the bigger size, it's 28 rows. So if you are making the child size, this will now be row 25, and if you're making the adult size, this will now be row 29. So what we're going to do, and we've finished the row at the end of the slip stitches, so that will make sure you've got the right amount of rows. And an easy way to count the rows is get your yarn tail on the left hand side, because this is row 1, and see how where it sticks out, where the ridge is here, that's row 2. So you just have to count those: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 and 24. So I know that I haven't enough, so pop that back on there. So what we need to do now is slip stitch into the first 5 stitches. So I've done a chain 1, and I found it hard to get to there, to get that and around, and this yarn kept falling. So what I've been doing is grabbing that yarn and holding it there, then working my slip stitch. And this is a lot easier when not around a camera. So working your slip stitch, you want to do that 5 times. Why am I having so much trouble? There we go. That was perfect when I wasn't on camera. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now this is going to be only a shorter row because it's going to be the fringe or the bang section. So what we need to do is single crochet into the next 15 stitches if you're doing a child size, and into the next 20 stitches if you're doing an adult size. So working in the back loops. And I'm going to work across until I have 15 stitches, and like I said, if you're making the adult you need to have 20. So I've completed that row. I've got 5 slip stitches here and then 15 single crochets across there, and if you've got the adult size you'll have 20 single crochets. And we get to the end of this row, what we want to do is chain 1 and turn, turning your work around, working into the back loops, 1 single crochet in the next 15 stitches. If you've done your 20 you will single crochet in the next 20 stitches. So back loops only. So work across, working your single crochets into your single crochets. And when we get to our slip stitches, so our last 5 stitches, we're going to work a slip stitch in each of those. Still working through the back loop. We're going to chain 1 and turn. This will be row 27 or 31 if you're doing the adult size, and we want to repeat 25 and 26 until we have 46 rows for our child size and 52 rows for our adult size. Row 47 or 53 if you're making the adult one, what we need to do is slip stitch in the next 5. Don't want that chain to be too loose there, so there you go. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 1 single crochet in the next 15 stitches. If you're doing an adult size that will be in the next 20. So we're going to crochet across, and I'm just going to turn off the camera and I'll meet you when we're up to the end. So I've just finished off that row. Now what we want to do, we want to chain 16 for the child or 21 for the adult. So 16 for the child or 21 for the adult. And what this does is, let's try and zoom out, there we go. Remember how we skipped all these stitches across here, and we had, for the child size, we had 15 stitches. And how many did you have for the, can't remember how many you had for the adult, but you skipped these stitches because we worked the fringe section here. So by adding these chains, we're adding in the stitches that we've skipped here. So if you have to chain 21, you've probably skipped 20 on here for the adult section. And we've added, even though we've skipped 15 stitches, we want to add the extra one for the 16 because that counts as our turning chain. So what we're going to do is we're going to spin it round, and then we're going to single crochet into the second chain from the hook. And we're going to work into the chain, and we're going to work a single crochet. So we're going to single crochet all the way across our chains. I'm going to do that off camera, and then I'll meet up when we get here, but you probably already know what we're going to do. So when we get up to the single crochets, what we're going to do is work in the back loop only like we've been doing, and this will continue on with the ribbing. So what we're going to do, we're going to single crochet across, and then we're going to work our slip stitches into our slip stitches. So I'm going to do that off camera because you already know how to do that, and I'll meet you on the next row. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work along this row, so all the way across, and you're just working slip stitches in here and then single crochet in those ones across there, and then you're going to keep going like we have been. So when you come up to here, you're going to crochet, single crochet back across, then when you get to the end you'll do your 5 slip stitches, and we're going to keep working. And for the child size, I need to keep working until I get to row 75, and if you're making the adult, you're going to keep going until you get to row 85. And then that's pretty much the end of our hat, and we just need to join it and make it look all pretty, and it's going to look so awesome when it's finished. So just keep going, and like I said, you're going to repeat to row 75 for the child and row 85 for the adult size. So happy crocheting until then, and I can't wait to get to the end of this so I can sew it together and make it look really cool. It's out. And the way to know your good and your bad side, or your right and your wrong side, your right side is always, the tail is on the left, and if it's the wrong side, your tail is on the right. So you want your tail, this is the beginning chain that we did, so this is going to be on the left. We're just going to fold it in half, and that stitch mark was just to remind me that was the good side. What we're going to do, we're going to slip stitch it together, but we're going to slip stitch through the back loop only of this section, and then this is my beginning chain, and I'm just going to go through the beginning chain with a slip stitch. So we're going to go in through the chain, and on this one here we're going to go through the back loop only, so going in the back loop only. And you don't want to work your slip stitch too tight, otherwise it will pucker up and it won't look very nice. So back loop only. I found when we get to the end, I've just finished off my last slip stitch, I'm going to put the yarn through my loop. And I've already threaded my yarn needle. And what we're going to do is gather the top. So where our slip stitches are, which is here, we're going to gather the top. Excuse me. And we're just going to get our needle and we're just going to weave it in and out of the last slip stitches there. So we're just weaving it in and out. And we're going to do this the whole way around. And I'll catch up to you when we've got back to the seam again. So I've got all the way around, and then what we need to do is just pull tight on our yarn, and I'm going to gather the top. I'm not just pulling tight on the yarn because sometimes it snaps. And that's not good. I've had that happen a few times. So just going to keep working it around until the hole closes up. So I've pulled that as much as I can. I still have a little hole there, but that's okay because the bow that we're making will cover up that hole. I was worried that if I pulled too tight it would snap the yarn. So just fasten it off like that, and then we're just going to sew in our tails. Just going to where can we sew in our tails? You know what, I'm just going to weave it round again. And then I'm going to cut off my yarn, and then we can turn it and then just, oh, I can't see what I'm doing. I'm just trying to make that sit flat. And what you could also do is you could just stitch up. My hole is really big. Like I said, I was a bit scared to pull it too tight. But you could stitch that up with your yarn and just do it on the inside of the hat and just stitch it up. But I'm going to be making a bow and adding that, so I'm going to sew that over that hole. And this is looking so cute. And I need to sew in a few ends as well. It's looking adorable. So next part is our bow. So for our bow, and it says the chain one at the end does not count as a stitch. What we need to do for the child size, we're going to chain 17, and for the adult size we're going to chain 23. So that's 17 chains, 1 half double crochet in the second chain from the hook. So it's not the one that's on there, that's 1 and that's 2. Wrapping our yarn this time, going into the chain, pull up, and then pull through all 3. And we're going to do a half double crochet in each stitch across. So I'll meet you when we're at the end. When we get to the end, I love this colour, it's showing up really pretty on the screen. It's royal blue, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and that does not count as a stitch, so we need to half double crochet into the first stitch. And we're going to do this in every stitch across, and repeat this row. If you're making a child size, we want to repeat it until we have 4 rows. And if you're making it for the adult, just repeat it until you have 6 rows in total. So I'll catch up to you when we have a few more rows done. Once we have our rows, what we're going to do is single crochet around all the 4 sides evenly. So I'm going to turn my work and chain 1. I'm going to single crochet in each stitch across. And I will meet you when I get to the end of the row. So I'm at the end of my row, so I've finished that one, and we're going to go across here. What we're going to do is single crochet in each stitch. Just put 2 into the last stitch, and that will make it go around the corner nicely. And then we're just working into the ends of the rows. There's not really an actual stitch to go into. We're just finding the end. Trying to make it look neat as well. Into that one there, we're going to do 2. And then now we're on the bottom where our chain started. And I'm actually crocheting over my tail. And I'm also just going into the chain. And then work across and then work down the other side. So I'm just up to the end. This is where I started. So we're just going to make a slip stitch to join that row together. So it looks really cute. And now we're going to cut off our yarn. I'm going to sew those ends in. So I will do that off camera. So that's our first part. Second part, I'm just going to use a different colour, just so when I'm sewing it together, somewhere there's an end here, so when I'm sewing it together you can see properly. So the next little part is just that little piece that goes around the middle of the bow, and it's called the bow band, and what it says is to chain 9 if you're making the child size, and if you're making the adult size, chain 11. And we're going to do 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook and single crochet all the way across. So chain 9, 1, 2, 3. And if you're doing it for the adult size, chain 11. 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook, not counting the one on the crochet hook. That's number 1 and that's number 2. So we're just going to single crochet across. When we get to the end, we're going to just work one more row, and then that's that bit finished. So chain 1 and turn, single crochet in the first stitch, then each stitch across. When we get to the end, what we want to do is finish off and leave about an 8-inch tail, because that will be what we use to sew on our things, our bits and pieces. We're going to finish off, pull that out. Now is we're going to sew our little band around our bow. So we're just going to pinch in the center to make it look like a bow. And we're going to place this around. And then we're going to stitch up the back. So we're just going to go through both yellow pieces. Just stitch that closed. Make sure our bow looks all pretty. And now we just want to stitch this to our wig. And grabbing the wig, we're going to stitch it over the hole. So I'm just stitching through. Going to go through all pieces and just pick up stitches at the back. Go back through. And we're just going to repeat this until it is attached. Here is my finished wig, and I have to say that this is the cutest pattern I have ever made. It just makes me giggle when I look at it. So this won't fit me, but now making this hat, I think I need to make one to fit me because I think this is so, so cute. I hope you enjoyed this video. The links to the pattern is in the description box. Please share your creation on our Facebook page. I will also put Posh Pooch Designs Facebook page and information so you can go and share it with her. I'm positive that she would love to see your creations and what you've come up with. So please subscribe because there'll be plenty more videos to come. Check out my new newsletter located on my website. You can now subscribe to that and it will be delivered straight to your email inbox. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy crochet.